Hello, I'm Nito Cobain. Welcome to Side by Side. My guest today will tell us why the economic future of North Carolina, particularly central North Carolina, is incredibly bright. He's the CEO and president of the Piedmont Triad Partnership and chairman of the Board of Trustees at North Carolina State University, his alma mater. Today we'll talk about big projects and what's on the economic horizon for North Carolina with Stan Kelly.
Funding for Side by Side with Nito Cobain is made possible by...
Here's to those that rise and shine, to friendly faces doing more than their part, and to those who still enjoy the little things. You make it feel like home. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
The Bud Group is a company of everyday leaders making a difference by providing facility solutions through customized janitorial, landscape, and maintenance services.
Coca-Cola Consolidated is honored to make and serve 300 brands and flavors locally. Thanks to our teammates. We are Coca-Cola Consolidated, your local bottler.
Stan Kelly, your record of leadership in our Tar Heel state is incredibly powerful. You were with Wachovia for many years. In fact, you were the president of the Carolinas region for Wachovia. Then you went on to Wells Fargo as mergers happened. And you again became the president of the Carolinas region, the whole banking operation, and of course the head of wealth management for Wells Fargo in this area as well. But now you are the big honcho at the Piedmont Triad Partnership, where you've had some remarkable ideas and wonderful initiatives to not only help central North Carolina, but by osmosis, all of North Carolina. And then you came up with this concept, initiative, plan, strategy called the Carolina Core. You see it on highways, on the signs, it says Carolina. What is Carolina Core?
Well, Nito, first of all, thank you very much for having me. And it's a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak to our audience and talk about North Carolina and the Carolina Core. And, you know, people ask me, well, why am I so passionate about this place? And North Carolina has given me so much, you know, in education, gave me my wife, and therefore gave me my children, and gave me my career. And so it's so much fun to be giving back to North Carolina and to our region, the Piedmont Triad region, which we call the Carolina Core from an economic development standpoint. So yeah, as I transition from banking into giving back and serving, I had a wonderful opportunity to lead the regional economic development effort here. And as I got into that, one of the things that we quickly discovered was we had an opportunity to think differently about economic development in this part of the state. You know, economic development is no longer defined by counties or cities, it's by regions. And we have an awesome region in the central part of the state, and so we did some work.
And where does that go from? From where to where?
So think about, on one hand, the region, you have Charlotte to our west, yes, and the Triangle to our east, and kind of in between that. And so Fayetteville is the southern part of our region. Think about Winston-Salem being kind of the western part of our region, certainly Greensboro, Burlington, et cetera. So it's a big chunk of the central part of North Carolina.
It's an expansive part of the state. I mean, Winston-Salem to Fayetteville by car is what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, not quite that much, but it's 2 hours, 2 hours, you know, give or take. So,
how do you get a region like that to collaborate, work together, amalgamate the strengths to better the whole state?
Well, one of the things that we discovered is, you know, regions are defined by where people work, not so much by what city they're in anymore. They travel across different county lines, and so when you think about competing globally and nationally, people think about the workforce and the population of this region, which is 2 million people. It's a big part of North Carolina. And they don't think so much about thinking about one city in this region. They think about their workforce coming from across this entire region and the sectors and supply chains, et cetera. So it's about assets and other elements versus the traditional way of thinking about regions. And so what we decided and what people have bought into, a win for one is a win for all. If you win an opportunity in Burlington, that's good for Greensboro. It's good for Asheboro. It's good for Winston-Salem. Frankly, it's good for Chapel Hill because people can travel to those jobs. They do travel to those jobs, and now, as we all know, they only do that 2 or 3 times a week. The others they do from home. And so people got that, and they said, yeah, if we win in Guilford County, that's fantastic for Forsyth County.
Yeah. Stan, tell me about, first of all, the strengths of the Carolina core in your way of thinking. And tell me why North Carolina is such an attractive place. We're growing by leaps and bounds in the state. What attracts people to this state and specifically to Carolina core?
Well, on the state level, I mean, we're very, very fortunate to be in this fabulous state that we live in. And from an economic development standpoint, what we've done with corporate taxes is second to none. We have the lowest corporate tax rate in the country, and that's attractive to companies considering relocating here. Our education system is second to none. You know, it's our kind of diamond in the rough. When we compete on a national level, people are awed by the education system.
The workforces with their
community colleges, privates, publics, et cetera. Large, impressive, attractive, readying the workforce for the future. You know, thirdly, we have infrastructure that's second to none. A little closer to home in the central part.
As in highways and airports.
And rail and water and energy, et cetera. We're very, very well equipped, and the infrastructure's there. And we invest in it and have continued to invest in it handsomely. So it's a combination of workforce, education, tax rates, quality of life. You know, certainly we all know about the wonderful quality of life.
So from the ocean to the mountains, right?
That's right. You put it all in a mixing bowl, and we come up on the short list of many, many companies. Matter of fact, right now the prospect list for opportunities in North Carolina and in the Carolina core is as strong as it's ever been because we're very attractive.
Well, the Carolina core just announced supersonic at the PTI, the Piedmont Triad International Airport. Toyota plant in the mega side. These are big things.
Yeah. It's it's been a plan that we've worked in this part of the state for the last 10 years. I give so much credit to the leadership that has come together to craft a plan, work with our partners in every community to make it happen. And yeah, what's been interesting is we've had many, many singles and doubles and maybe a triple over the last 10 years here or there. But we just hit 2 home runs. 2 home runs. And to put that in perspective for you in this part, in the Carolina core, we'd hoped in 2018 when we launched this that we might win 50,000 jobs and new jobs in a 20-year period. Well, we've won 25,000 jobs in the last 4 years, net new jobs for this region. And so that credit goes to so many people, so many cooks in that kitchen from Raleigh.
Public and private.
From Raleigh to public, private, across this state. I can't tell you how many people have been kind of in the bleachers, cheering us on, helping us, investing in us. So we're in a really good place right now. We got I call it momentum, and there's nothing like having
and
success.
Growth mindset.
Growth mindset, and we're just getting started. I think the next 10, 15 years, looking over the horizon.
Stan, I mean, also this region has been hit hard.
Yeah.
Some 90,000 jobs were lost post-NAFTA.
Yep.
Textiles have been practically killed. There's some good companies still alive and well, like Alan Gant's company, for example, and there are others. We need this. We need this for our people, for jobs, for future generations. You are the chairman of the Board of Trustees of North Carolina State, one of the leading universities in this nation, one of the best engineering schools anywhere, certainly experts in the textile field and beyond. That's a pretty nice honor to have been elected the chairman of the Board of Trustees of your alma mater.
Well, it's a privilege. I'm honored to have the opportunity to do so. I pinch myself. I think about this kid, 40-some years ago, and I just wanted a job. I just wanted to go to work, and to have had this wonderful career that the state of North Carolina has offered me, and now have the opportunity to give back again to my alma mater. It's fun. It's been highly engaged, love to see what's going on, not only at NC State, but it also gives me perspective into the university system in a different way. And we're so fortunate to not only have what we have, but to see the legislature in the state of North Carolina, our taxpayers, they're investing in this system. And it is what is enabling us to win. So these two things are highly connected: economic development and our university and education system, publics and privates, and our community college systems. We would not be having the success that we're having without that key anchor. And that's even more important as we look forward with all the workforce challenges that we're all well aware of.
So Stan, when they elected you as chairman of the board of trustees at NC State, did they know what your wife knows, and that is you were not a straight A student?
I don't know. You know what? I've always said, please don't go back and look at my transcript. Please. I did graduate. I promise I graduated. I have that. But the best
on merit and by design.
But the best thing that university gave me was my wife. She was in school with me.
Oh,
and that's
met
where
her
we
there.
met. And so we're double Wolfpackers, if you would.
Wolfpack through and through.
So it's all good.
Stan, you talked about universities. Companies look for where their employees want to work, because they don't always simply create jobs where they relocate. They also bring leadership with them, which is a good thing for North Carolina. It helps our home sales. It helps all kinds of peripheral services that these people want. That's why North Carolina is growing. The climate is beautiful, reputation is outstanding, and so on. And so you mentioned universities and community colleges. I don't even know how many. I think we've got 17 in the university system, 35 or 36 private, 55 or so community. This is a significant body.
Absolutely.
A significant resource. What has been your experience in terms of bringing all of this powerhouse together? And what are some examples where they truly collaborated with strengths and it comes with significant stellar faculty who do research and who create companies and therefore help our economy. What has been your experience in terms of pulling all these universities together, vis-a-vis PTP, Carolina Core, but also observationally? I mean, you've been connected to Charlotte Mecklenburg in a big way. You also have been in the Carolinas, the president of the bank. So you really do know people, companies, industries, universities, and so on, by sheer fact that you were lending them money and depositing their money and all of that.
Well, as you suggest, and as I mentioned earlier, I do believe our higher education system is second to none in this country, and it's one that we've invested significantly. It's a strategic advantage, but I think its opportunity is still in front of it. Really, to speak to leveraging this system for the greater good of North Carolina, greater good of the country and the world, quite frankly. So what I see as a member of the NC State Trustee Board is a university with 35,000 students, graduate students, undergrad, doing research second to none in areas that are so important to humanity.
And the best looking library in North Carolina.
Best looking library in coolest library
in North Carolina.
Library. And, but I also see them starting to partner more with Chapel Hill and Duke University and Wake Forest University of Medicine and the R1 Research Institutes. And one thing I will mention, there is a group of us from the private side working, sharing this with the public side of our economy, something called the Innovation State. And we're working on a strategy to say, how can we better leverage the university system for the greater good and to really gin up our research and innovation so that the future, we are repotting and remaking the jobs for the next generation. We have a very impressive group working on this. The progress is inspiring, and I hope in the years to come you'll see us really having opportunity to do even more with this incredible university system that
you know,
we have.
we had on the show some time ago Bobby Long, who spoke about how he started a company, his second company, post insurance, and he met all these professors, in his case at Carolina, and they started businesses. He invested in these businesses. Some of them have gone public, some continue to be private, but they're phenomenal businesses in technology and healthcare, and I mean, it's so exciting to know that this state really is avant-garde in so many ways because we have the brain power and the brain trust here. I want to talk to you about something that's a little different. Back to Carolina core. When we look at North Carolina, we see a very major airport in Charlotte. I don't think there's any argument about that. Charlotte has done a spectacular job building a phenomenal airport, which then attracted more businesses, became, if not the first or second banking capital in the United States of America. And then we have Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, you know, airport, the whole area. And they're doing very well, have international flights and so on. And then we have PTI, Piedmont Triad International, which has been squeezed by these two large airports, but nevertheless seems to do very well and has been very creative in attracting, it's a mega site of its own now, the airport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about the competitiveness from a traveler's perspective, company locating here perspective, and what are some of these good news that's coming out of the PTI zone?
Well, the Piedmont Triad International Airport is a real strategic asset for the state of North Carolina and for this region. You know, as a consumer, I have options. I can go an hour to Charlotte to the airport, I can go an hour to the Triangle to the airport, or I can go to PTIA, depending on where I want to go and what the flight schedules are, et cetera. And so we're clear that we're not going to compete for consumer travel, if you would, with Charlotte and Triangle, and we shouldn't, quite frankly. We can create another opportunity for the state of North Carolina. And so what is being created, and we're so proud of it, in this region, is an airport that is aligned with the aviation and aerospace industry, where we can leverage the airport and its wonderful runways and capabilities to attract business. You know, some businesses have to be on an airport, others do not. And so recent announcements with Boom and HAECO and FedEx, these are big businesses that need to be on an airport. PTIA is perfectly suited for them. There are not many airports in the country that have a mega site attached to it, some 1,000 acres, plus dual runways, and the capability to host.
That's a highway system.
Yeah,
for
and
trucking
we've got 6 interstates that run through this. And so what's really evolving, and what if Charlotte is fintech and the Triangle is technology, one of the big sectors of the economy that is evolving here in this region is transtech, transportation technology, from aviation to trucking to logistics to distribution. Think about it. We're halfway between the Triangle and Charlotte. We're halfway between Washington and Atlanta. We're halfway between Miami and Boston. We're very well located from many different perspectives and have this interstate network that's second to none, and access to ports, great rail. So our airport, while maybe we didn't win in the consumer business,
we couldn't get Southwest on the one hand, but on the other hand,
but I think
big companies.
I think long term, it's a major job creator for this region, and we're going to wake up. We're waking up now, but we're going to wake up 10 years from now and say, "Wow, look at what!" And what isn't that great for North Carolina that we then have 3 fabulous airports, 3 international airports. We have more than 3 in Wilmington, et cetera. That they're not all exactly the same. They do some different things.
So you know what happens, and you hear people who are not engaged in economic development as you are so deeply and vertically involved, and they have concerns about traffic. You go down to Charlotte, you go down to Wilmington. Wilmington has evolved in this, lovely place people want to be, and they're dealing with traffic issues, right? What is your view on that? What is it that must a region do to ensure that there's also a fluid transportation system for the average person who needs to go from home to job, job to home?
Well, let me answer that question, but give a couple of precursors. You know, first of all, many of us have watched thousands of jobs leave or atrophy just because of the change in the economy. So you always need to be looking for the next generation of jobs, because
Yes.
you never know, the jobs we have today won't be here. So that's important. Secondly, you know, I've always believed, and one of the reasons I'm involved in economic development is a few good jobs help to cure a lot of social ills. Don't cure them all, but having a job really matters. And so that's why
companies will become philanthropic,
right.
good stewards of
matters,
society.
It matters a lot.
Yes.
And so, yes, there are some challenges that can come with that. And, you know, I think that, you know, over time, that's different in different places. Fortunately, here in the Carolina core, we don't have some of the challenges that some of the more urban cities have. And in some ways, that will draw opportunities to this region, because it doesn't take as long to get from here to there. It doesn't cost as much to live. We have the education system, et cetera. And so it actually is a way of balancing out the portfolio across North Carolina over time. Now in the Triangle, which I spent a big chunk of my life, and a big chunk of my life in Charlotte, hey, we got to keep working on infrastructure. And they're doing that in those respective cities. So it's not an either or, it's a both and. We got to grow jobs and we got to work on infrastructure.
Yeah. What is next for Stan Kelly? I mean, you've been a distinguished banker, you're now the chair for a while and grew Piedmont Triad Partnership, economic arm that works with lots of counties, lots of cities, but brought Carolina core together. You are the chair of your board of trustees at NC State, your alma mater, in spite of the fact you were not a magna cum laude graduate. I checked you out. Neither was I, by the way, just for the record. You're a young man, Stan. You got a lot of years ahead of you, big runway. What are you going to do? You going to run for Senate, governor, president?
I care a lot about North Carolina, and I will continue to work at the North Carolina level on things where I can serve and make a difference, whether it's NC State, whether it's the innovation state strategy that a number of us are working on. I chair the Wake Forest University Center for Private Business, which is a statewide organization that caters to existing companies. So I like doing that. I'll also continue to work regionally and locally. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the people that I have an opportunity to work with. And so the common denominator of the things that I'm involved with tends to be job related, job creation. That's kind of what I know. It's who I am. There are a lot of other people that are involved in many other important facets in the community. That's where I kind of play. That's my position on the team. So we'll continue to be involved with the Piedmont Triad Partnership and the Carolina core, involved with things in Winston-Salem, the community that I live in. So yeah, and along the way, spend more time with my wife and my grandkids and my children. And as we all know, that's the cherished part of my life.
Absolutely. Stan, you live in Winston-Salem, as you said. You spoke about innovation initiative, which is exciting. What are your hobbies? What do? You play golf, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm one of these people that I do a little bit of a lot and none of it really well. So a little bit of golf, a little bit of boating, love to go to the coast. I play a little pickleball.
That's for older people.
Yeah, I'm old.
Pickleball.
Yeah, my knees, it's all good. But I love to travel and with friends and you
have good balance in your life, which makes it wonderful.
Yeah.
Stan, who were some of the heroes, models, or mentors in your life? Who influenced you? Who impacted not just your mind, but your heart, your soul?
Thanks for that question. I was so lucky to get a job in the early days with Wachovia. And I worked with a group of people, day in and day out that taught me everything, role models. I was OJT, I was an on-the-job trainee. Mm-hmm. And from my branch manager, in the bank, they actually just taught me how to operate through a day, be efficient, don't get cluttered, and so many practical little things. To John Medlin, who was the CEO of the company back then, who I admired and was a role model. And so I would so in the early years, first decade of my professional life, the Wachovia culture really made me who I am today. Now, in this part of my life, these boards that I'm involved in, these organizations, I am so fortunate to be able to spend some time with people that are teaching me things all the time still. And so I admire them, I pay attention, I'm trying to be all that I can be. So I wouldn't single out role models. If I started with one, I'd have to say 10 right now, but it's different today.
You've been blessed.
I'm completely
You've been blessed. And you live in America.
Yeah.
And you've had purposeful work. Yeah. What else can a person ask for? Family that loves you and service to humankind in every way. Stan, I've always admired you for who you are and what you do. I thank you for being with me today on Side by Side, and I wish you the very best in your leadership at NC State and beyond.
We got more to do. Thank you, Nito. Thanks for having me.
Funding for Side by Side with Nito Cobain is made possible by...
Here's to those that rise and shine, to friendly faces doing more than their part, and to those who still enjoy the little things. You make it feel like home. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
The Bud Group is a company of everyday leaders making a difference by providing facility solutions through customized janitorial, landscape, and maintenance services.
Coca-Cola Consolidated is honored to make and serve 300 brands and flavors locally. Thanks to our teammates. We are Coca-Cola Consolidated, your local bottler.